All right, let's jump right in. Today we're diving into something really dense and allegorical, the crimson vademecum of the market harvest. Think of it as a dark, prophetic parable about commerce, spirit, and a judgment that's on the horizon.
So the text doesn't open with an argument or some dry introduction. No, it throws you right into this incredibly powerful sensory image. It's not just fog. It's a vibrating shroud that you could almost feel, and it tastes like iron and sin. This isn't just setting the scene. It's dropping us right into the core philosophy of the entire text. So let's explore what that sensation really means.
The title itself is a huge clue. It's a vademecum, a handbook, a guide. But the source also calls it a gory and lucid manual. Now, just think about that combination for a second. Gory, and yet perfectly clear. It's telling us that this guide for what's coming isn't going to be comforting. It's going to be brutal, but it's also going to be undeniably, shockingly honest. Okay, so in our first section, we're really going to look at the nature of this crimson mist because it's so much more than just a backdrop. It's an active force, something that's revealing a hidden truth and, for a select few, sending out a very dark invitation. You see, this mist isn't just atmosphere. It's basically a projector, what the text calls a cinema of the pit. What a phrase, right? It's like a lens that strips away the polite, civilized surface of the marketplace. It shows the primitive or atavistic heart of it all, a society driven by this frantic, ancient greed, a hollow dance. But here's the kicker. For the observers who are watching, this isn't just a movie. This whole vision is an invitation, a call to action, to begin a harvest. So, the vision has been set. Now the text zooms in on the players and their stage, a place called the Bazaar of Vanities. And honestly, the way it's described, it sounds a lot more like a tomb than a center of commerce. We see this whole story through the eyes of a really mysterious group. You've got the narrator and their shadow, a Wiccan who's like this silent spiritual anchor, and then there's the tarantula preacher. I mean, what a name. These aren't people shopping in the market. They are completely separate, just watching, interpreting, almost like they're visitors from another reality. And who are they watching? Well, the text has a very specific and very critical name for them. Narrow souls. These are people who, according to the vademecum, have traded something vital, their grace, their spirit, for these heavy but fleeting digital comforts. It's a really sharp critique of a world that's just lost in superficial things. Now, here's a fascinating twist. In spite of that incredibly menacing name, the tarantula preacher is called a disguised saint. So why disguised? Well, maybe it's because in a world full of masks, someone who actually sees the truth can't be recognized for what they are. Their role isn't evil, it's about pure perception. All those many eyes are for seeing right through the facade, stripping the masks off of everyone. In this dark world, they are an agent of brutal, unavoidable clarity. So, the vademecum now shifts from who's in the market to what the market actually worships. And it offers this completely unforgiving critique of its core values, framing them not as prosperity, but as a kind of spiritual rot. And this slide just perfectly lays out the central conflict. On the left, you've got how the market sees itself, worshiping at the altar of the coin, bowing down to the idol of the self. But on the right, you have the vademecum's verdict. All of that worship has created nothing but a cemetery of desire, a labyrinth of fear, and the total ruin of the human spirit. And this brings us to the real purpose of the observers. They are not just sitting back and watching the show. They are reviewers and critics of this whole moral play. Their job is to actively dismantle or slough off what the text calls the tepid goodness of the righteous. This isn't an attack on real goodness, but on a weak, self-deluded, lukewarm morality that they see as part of the core problem. All this judgment, it leads directly to a prophecy. The vision in the mist isn't just a critique, it's a sneak peek of the market's total downfall, what the text calls the Untergang, a German word for ruin. And this isn't a maybe, it's presented like an unbreakable contract. So, you might be wondering, how can destruction be a good thing? Well, the text frames it as a natural, almost sacred event. It says the very heartbeat of the forest gives a sacred yes to destroying the marketplace. Why? Because from this perspective, the market is a disease, an unnatural corruption. And its destruction is seen as a necessary correction to restore a more brutal but more honest natural order. And this downfall isn't chaotic at all. It's described step by step, almost like a dark ritual.
First, these vials are shattered. Their tainted ictor seeps into the very marrow, the absolute core of commerce. And this leads to the descent of a permanent night. And the text makes it very clear this is just the beginning.
But what's the ultimate point of all this destruction? Is it just annihilation? The Vademecum says no. The real goal is something more like a harsh alchemical purification process.
This distinction right here is absolutely critical to understanding the whole philosophy of the text. The goal is not to save the city. The Vademecum throws that idea right out. The purpose is to refine it, to burn away all the impurities through an unforgiving process. The marketplace is going to become a threshing floor. That's a biblical image for violently separating the wheat from the worthless chaff. It's about purification, not a rescue mission.
And the Vademecum is brutally honest about what this refinement feels like. It calls it cruelty. A necessary cruelty, from its point of view, that's part of a vast, intricate design. This isn't random chaos. It's a purposeful, almost artistic use of force, just to see what, if anything, of value is left standing.
So, in this final section, the parable reaches its turning point. The vision is over, the mist dissolves, and the observer's prophetic knowledge becomes a cold, hard law that's about to govern their every move.
And here it is. The critical shift. The vision is over. The prophecy is no longer something they just watch. It has become the law of the road. It's now the absolute internal compass for every single one of their predatory and, in their minds, glorious steps. They have become the agents of the very prophecy they witnessed. And with that, everything is in place. The prologue is officially over. The observers, now acting with the dignity of lords, returning to a kingdom they feel they've already conquered in spirit, begin to move towards the bazaar. And the tarantula preacher? They now assume their final role, the harvester, an agent who fully knows and accepts the weight of the darkness they are about to unleash. And that's where the text leaves us, right on the precipice of action. It's laid out this complete, terrifying worldview, and it doesn't give us a neat answer. Instead, it ends with this unsettling question about its own dark wisdom, forcing us to wonder, what kind of truth, if any, could possibly be found in a harvest that is so utterly merciless?